Hey guys, so I'm actually getting started early this year with my Valentine's Day cards, and this first card I've actually already selected some pattern paper that I'm going to start with, and this XOXO pattern is going to make up the background of my card, and it is from the Crate Paper Kiss Kiss collection. And actually all of the paper and embellishments that I'm using are from the Kiss Kiss paper. So I adhered that to my background, and next I'm going to do some die cutting. I'm going to use the largest peaking edge die from this Avriel die set. And using another piece of paper from the 6x6 pad, I'm going to die cut that peaking edge. And I'm going to try to place the die so that you can't tell that that heart pattern used to be there. And once I die cut it, I kind of realized that you couldn't see the edges of the pattern paper anymore. So I used a dauber and some Encore Gold ink to go around the edges, hoping that it would make it stand out a little bit more. After I was sure that that gold ink dried, I pulled out these conversation hearts that are also from the Kiss Kiss collection, and I removed them from the backer sheet. And the only reason I did this in advance is because I want to use the actual backer sheet as a template. That way I don't have to measure anything. So I cut off the actual backer piece and the top portion of the packaging and laid it on top of my card so that I could use my paper piercer to pierce the holes without actually having to do any real measuring. Now I'm going to place the conversation hearts onto the front of my card, and I realized as I was placing these hearts onto the front of the card that the holes really weren't big enough, but it actually turned out to be a good thing because it gave me a little bit of wiggle room for when the holes didn't quite line up the way I expected them to. Once I had the conversation hearts put onto the card in the order I wanted them, I used my We Are Memory Keepers brad tool to close each of the backs of the conversation hearts. Now the brad backs aren't as tight as I want them to be, so I'm just using my thumbs to push them so that they're tight against the paper and they don't wiggle around. Now I'm going to start working on my sentiment, and I've chosen another pattern from the Kiss Kiss 6x6 pad, and I'm going to use the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment from this Hero Arts stamp set, and I'm going to stamp it in Versamark ink and then heat emboss it in gold embossing powder. Now at this point, I'm starting to not like the way this card is coming together, so I decided that I needed to introduce a little bit of black for some contrast. So I took a black piece of cardstock and I inked the edges in gold to use as a backer sheet behind those conversation hearts. That way it stood out a little bit more from the background. Once my ink had dried, I adhered that black piece down to my card, and I used a bunch of dimensional adhesive on the back of this embellished section with the hearts because it had a lot of weight and it was sinking down. And next I trimmed down my stamped and embossed sentiment and adhered it to the front of my card. And at this point I really still wasn't liking the way the sentiment looked on the front of the card. And it was because there wasn't enough contrast for my liking, so I went back and I heat embossed the sentiment again, but this time on some black cardstock, and adhered it right on top of the old sentiment. So here's a look at the final product, and as always guys, thanks for watching.